Episode 8 of Dutton Ranch just dropped, and if you watched it carefully, you already know that nothing is going to be the same after this. The chess pieces have been moved, the secrets have been uncovered, and now every single character on this show is standing on the edge of a cliff, and some of them don't even know it yet. But here's what most people are missing. It isn't the cattle theft, and it isn't the gun that was handed to Sheriff Wade. The real danger in this story is something quieter, something that has been building in the background for weeks. And episode 9, titled El Padrino, might be the moment it all explodes. Before we get to the finale predictions, we need to go back through everything that happened in episode 8, because there are details buried in that episode that most viewers completely overlooked. And those details, they may hold the key to understanding what is actually coming, and who is going to survive it. Let's be honest. Going into episode 8, most of us expected the show to slow down a little before the finale. That's what dramas usually do. They ease off the gas just before the final turn. Dutton Ranch did the exact opposite. The episode opened with the news that Bula had survived her heart attack. And yes, on the surface, that sounds like a moment of relief. But watch it again. Watch the way the scenes around her recovery are constructed. Because Bula surviving isn't just a feel-good development. It's the show quietly repositioning one of its most important characters right before the finale. Bula waking up and immediately finding Everett by her side, confessing his feelings and telling her he wants to leave everything behind and start over together, that is not a romantic subplot. That is a distraction. And in a show like Dutton Ranch, every distraction is also a weapon. Here is the thing about Bula that the show has been building toward all season. She is not a villain. She is not a hero. She is a survivor. And survivors on this show tend to make decisions that protect their future, even when those decisions hurt the people around them. So when Bula tells Everett that she trusts him, and that the only other people she trusts are Beth and Rip, pay attention to what she is not saying. She is not saying she's on their team, she is saying she trusts them. And in Dutton Ranch, trust and loyalty are two completely different things. Meanwhile, on the other side of this episode, Waqen is furious. He watched Bula hand over the ranch's most important asset to rob Will, and he is not going to forgive her for it. What's crucial here is that Waqen's anger isn't just personal, it's practical. He understands exactly what Rob Will is capable of, and he knows that Bula just made a deal with someone who doesn't honor deals. He sees the fire coming. Bula, wrapped up in her second chance at love with Everett, doesn't seem to see it at all. And that gap, the space between what Bula believes is happening and what is actually happening, is exactly where the danger lives. Because while Bula is looking toward her future with Everett, the people around her are making moves she has no idea about. Beth and Rip now know the truth about the 10-petal ranch. They know about the stolen cattle. They know about Wes. And they are not the kind of people who sit on information like that. The final moments of episode 8 left us with a question that the show hasn't fully answered yet. How far are Beth and Rip willing to go? And more importantly, who is going to get caught in the crossfire? Now let's talk about the moment in episode 8 that most people glossed over, because on the surface it seemed like a minor scene. Waqen takes the gun, the one used to murder Wes, and walks it straight to Sheriff Wade. He wants justice. He wants Rob Will taken down. And when Wade doesn't respond the way Waqen hoped, the scene ends and most viewers move on. But don't move on. Stay in that moment for a second. Think about what Waqen just did. He walked into a sheriff's office with a murder weapon and no body. Now, here's the question. Why didn't he have a body? We know Rip was involved in handling Wes's remains. We know that in the world of Dutton Ranch, bodies that need to disappear tend to disappear through very specific channels. This is what the show has been quietly calling the train station, a phrase that has become the show's most dangerous open secret. Waqen doesn't know any of this. He went to the sheriff in good faith with real evidence, and the sheriff essentially told him it wasn't enough. That rejection, which looks like a dead end, is actually the show hinting at something much more important. The moment Waqen picked up that phone and called his father, or whoever it is that he truly considers a father figure, the entire balance of power in this story shifted. And here is the detail that connects everything. The title of episode 9 is El Padrino. In Spanish, that means the godfather. Not literally a father. A godfather. A patron. A protector. Someone who operates outside the law. Who has power that can't be easily challenged or explained. The show is not titling its season finale El Padrino by accident. That word is loaded with meaning, and it points directly at a character or force that we haven't fully understood yet. Go back to the flashback in episode 7. Waqen's father, Mariano, or the man connected to that past, either took the blame for something he didn't do, or he committed something that forced him out of the 10-petal ranch world entirely. And if Bula adopted Waqen to repay a debt, then that debt is still on the table. Debts like that don't expire. They just wait. The hidden detail here is that El Padrino might not be someone we've been watching closely. It might be someone operating completely off-screen, someone with enough power and anger to come into this story in the finale and blow everything apart. And Waqen, by making that phone call from a cemetery of all places, may have just opened a door that cannot be closed. Here's where things get genuinely interesting and also genuinely complicated, because there are two very different directions episode 9 could take, and both of them are completely supported by what we've seen so far. The first theory is that El Padrino refers to a living figure, someone connected to Waqen's past, who has the resources to dismantle the 10-petal ranch from the outside. If Mariano, or someone like him, has been running the cattle smuggling operation across the border, then Waqen calling and asking him to stop could be the move that quietly starves the 10-petal ranch of its income. No body, no arrest, but no money either. And without money, Rob Will's confidence collapses. This theory would also explain why the show has spent so much time on the cross-border cattle angle. It's not just a crime detail. It could be the financial lifeline that, when cut, ends everything. The second theory is darker, and honestly, it feels more like this show's style. What if Waqen didn't call someone to stop the operation? What if he called someone and asked them to come? What if El Padrino is a man with blood on his hands and a score to settle, and Waqen just invited him into a situation that is already a powder keg? The trailer showed Rip and Everett grabbing their weapons and heading into what looks like a real confrontation. That's not a negotiation scene. That's a war scene. And if someone powerful is coming after Bula, then Waqen could be the one who sent them, whether he intended to start a war or not. It's also possible that Bula herself is more aware of the danger than she's letting on. She admitted that she believes Rob Will's threats. But she also admitted that she trusts Beth and Rip. This could mean, and this is a real possibility, that Bula is playing her own quiet game. She may already know something about the train station. She may already understand that Beth and Rip have secrets just as dangerous as Rob Will's. And if she's been building a file, quietly gathering information while everyone assumes she's just a tired woman in love, then the season finale might end with Bula holding a card that nobody expected her to have. The most compelling theory, though, ties all of this together. El Padrino could be the title that describes what this entire season has really been about. The idea that in Texas ranch country, power doesn't come from the law, from money, or even from violence alone. It comes from whoever the true godfather of the situation is. And right now, that role is completely up for grabs. Going into episode 9, the tension in Dutton Ranch is operating at a level that this show hasn't hit before. And the reason it feels so explosive is that almost every major character is now playing with incomplete information. And in this world, incomplete information gets people killed. Beth and Rip are going to come after the 10-petal ranch. That much feels certain. They now know about the cattle smuggling. They now understand how the foot and mouth disease reached their herd, and they are not the type of people who let that slide. The question isn't whether they'll act. The question is how far they'll go, and whether they'll be smart enough to let the legal system take some of the weight, or whether they'll try to handle everything themselves, which in this show tends to end badly. Kane is likely going to approach Rip at some point in the finale, and that conversation could be the most important scene in the episode. If Kane asks Rip to help produce Wes's body as evidence against Rob Will, Rip has to make a decision. Agreeing means potentially exposing the train station. Refusing means letting Rob Will continue. Neither option is clean, and Rip's answer to that question could determine the entire direction of Season 2. Bula, meanwhile, is walking into the finale completely unaware of how many people are making decisions about her life. Everett has changed her, softened her in some ways, made her believe in a future that doesn't involve the ranch wars and the blood debts she's been living inside. But the show has never rewarded characters for trying to step away from the conflict. In Dutton Ranch, the conflict finds you. And Bula, who just handed her operation to Rob Will and is now counting on love to carry her through, is absolutely positioned to face the most devastating moment of her arc in this finale. The scene in the trailer, Rip and Everett grabbing weapons, preparing for a fight, feels like a response to something coming directly at Bula. And if that's true, if someone sent by El Padrino is coming for her, then the season finale could end with Bula surviving a second time through no plan of her own. Saved again. And what she does with that survival, whether she finally fights or finally folds or finally reveals a secret we didn't know she was holding, that is going to define this show going into season 2. Rob Will, for his part, is not going to go quietly. He has been building toward this moment all season. If he senses the walls closing in, if he realizes that the 10-Petal Ranch's crimes are about to come to light, a reckless counterattack isn't just possible. It's likely. And a reckless Rob Will is the most dangerous version of Rob Will, because he's the kind of man who burns everything down rather than surrender it. The finale of Dutton Ranch isn't just going to answer questions, it's going to ask new ones. And the last image of this season, whoever is left standing,